Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Jonathan Wessel and this is How to Start a Career in Acting. This is going to be a series of videos on how to start a career in acting where I will take you through all the different steps that you need to take in order to be able to start a career in acting. So let's jump right in. So today we are going to start off with training. Training is so important for anybody who wants to become an actor. This applies to pretty much any kind of job you could have too. If you're going to be a plumber, if you're going to be a doctor, if you're going to be a lawyer, if you're going to be a bus driver, any job, you're going to have training you need to go through in order to be able to do that job well. The same thing applies to the performing arts. Acting is no exception to any of that. You need to have good quality training to be able to do a good job. And not only that, but really to be able to have a really good career. Because you want to have foundational skills that you can build upon, and if you don't have those foundational skills, you're not going to really be able to go anywhere. So the first thing I recommend, of course, are acting methods. You've got methods like Meisner and Strasberg, Adler, Uta Hagen, so many out there that you can study. I recommend looking at several different methods and seeing what you enjoy. There may be certain aspects of one that you enjoy over another, so definitely check them out. I personally studied Meisner and I love Meisner. I love how all-encompassing it is, how it gives you the very beginning aspects, the foundation to acting, and then it takes you through progressions all the way up to breaking down a script, creating a character. It's an all-inclusive method. It just takes you through everything you need to have to be able to act. So I would recommend looking into those. I recommend Meisner personally, but the other ones are good too to look into. There's also improv classes. If you're going to do any kind of improv work, whether they want you to improv in a movie or you want to do improv as far as a career, you want to be an improv actor, you definitely need to take classes for that because there's different rules of improv and different techniques and things like that that you need to know to be able to do it well. So definitely take improv classes. Commercial acting classes, those are really helpful if you plan to do any kind of commercial acting. So I definitely recommend looking into that. They'll teach you how to approach a commercial script, they call it copy. They'll help you learn how to do commercial auditions and things like that. They just cover a lot, so definitely beneficial if you want to do any sort of commercial work. On-camera classes, these are really important. They will help you with just learning how to act on camera, understanding framing, eye lines, hitting your marks, all of that stuff. And I will be doing a series in the future on how to act on camera or acting for the camera, so watch out for that as well. Then there's audition classes. So learning how to audition is going to be really helpful. Learning audition techniques, and I take my audition techniques specifically from Meisner. I use elements of preparing a script from Meisner and use that for my auditions, but there are other methods that are really helpful as well. So I recommend looking into those. Voice classes can be really, really helpful. I'm not just talking singing, although that's definitely helpful. I'm talking about specifically your voice in speaking, how to take care of your voice, how to keep it in great shape, and then how to use it properly when you're speaking so you're not straining it, stressing it out, and then losing your voice halfway through a run of a show or something. Movement's also very important. Movement will really help you stay healthy, keeping your body healthy, and the Alexander technique is a really great technique to learn. So I would definitely recommend looking into that. It'll help you learn proper posture, how to carry yourself so you're not putting stress on your body, and it can really help you keep from getting injured from simple things or causing chronic problems over the years. So definitely look into that as well. Accents. Accents are huge for an actor. Accents are so important because they're something that you really, really need if you're going to be playing lots of different types of characters. And so oftentimes you'll be given a character where you have to do an accent and you really need to know how to do the accent. And I would highly recommend staying away from watching movies of actors and trying to copy how they do it. Study with an actual dialect coach. This is so important because they will actually not only give you what you need as far as how to pronounce everything and the flow of the language or whatever, but they will also be there to listen to you speak and give feedback on how you're doing. You don't get that if you watch a movie. So these people know what they're doing and they can really help make sure that you're doing it correctly. And then there's dance. Dance, for anybody who wants to do musical theater, is a must. If you haven't been doing dance since you were a little kid and you're older now and you're getting into it, then you definitely want to start as soon as possible because dance is not something you can pick up super easy necessarily. So you definitely want to get started on that as quick as possible if you plan to do musical theater. Now, some things I want to talk about have to deal with acting schools, studios, colleges, all of that. So let's talk a little bit about the differences and the similarities. First, I want to talk about acting schools versus college. Cost. Now, acting studios are typically less expensive, and that's partially because smaller class, there aren't any credits that you're getting, and it's usually a smaller period of time, usually 8 to 10 weeks instead of a full semester. So it's a lot cheaper, whereas colleges are more expensive. Again, you're getting those credits, you're getting a longer period of time for that, and other things that are often associated with that. So I personally didn't go to college for it. I didn't get an MFA. I went to a private acting studio, but that worked out great for a lot of reasons. And a lot of those things have to do with the material. So with acting studios, they cover more of one particular topic per session. So if you take Meisner, for example, you'll start off with how to really listen, and you'll spend the whole first session, which is about 8 to 10 weeks, really learning how to listen, how to respond truthfully. Everything that goes with that, that's the very foundation of acting they go over. So I highly recommend studios for that aspect, because if you look at a lot of colleges, they may cover a lot more in a semester, but they spend less time on it. You don't go as in depth, so you're not really getting as much information as you can, or you're not really getting a chance to work on it as much as maybe you should. Now, performances, I think, is where colleges have a little bit of an advantage usually. Acting studios, you'll tend to do, at least in my experience, you'll tend to do a select scene at the end of a session. So you'll work on it throughout the session, and then you'll perform at the end. It's just one scene out of a whole play. Colleges, on the other hand, you tend to do full stage performances. So you'll do an entire play and really get to work on the whole character, whereas, like I said, with the acting studio, you tend to focus on one scene. However, I will say that with the acting studio, you really go more in depth into the preparation, focus on just one scene, so you're not having to worry about an entire play that you're working on. But with the colleges, you do get that ability to perform an entire play. So if that's something you want to be able to do as part of your study, then college is the way to go for that. There's also private coaching, which you can do. There are pros to private coaching one-on-one. It's really great when you just get to work one-on-one with a coach. It's just you and the coach, and so you get to spend an hour or however long the session is working with just that coach, and that coach is just working with you, so you get their full attention for that full hour, rather than in a class setting where maybe you get 15-20 minutes of the time or less, who knows, with the coach working with you. So it works out really well in that respect. Also, there's usually a more flexible schedule if you're doing a private acting studio, or if you're doing college. You've got set days and times you need to be at class. If you can't make it, you miss it, you gotta try to make it up somehow. If you can't make it up, you can't make it up. Whereas with a private acting coach, if you can't do it one particular day for some reason, something came up, an emergency or whatever, and so now you need to take it on a different day, most acting coaches will be able to adjust their schedule to accommodate you on another day. They're also reasonably priced, a lot cheaper per session than it is for a lot of acting studios or college. And they can also teach from anywhere. So if you're in an area where there are no colleges that offer acting classes or private studios or whatever, that doesn't mean you can't learn how to act. You can study with a private coach who lives anywhere in the world. And that's really a great advantage. The cons, though, to private coaches, sometimes the private coaches don't teach the fundamentals of acting. A lot of times, and my experience with acting coaches I've studied with, focus more on scene study, and that's what the focus has been on. And I studied with acting coaches before I went to acting school. So I was learning about how to break down a scene and learn about motivation and all of that, but I didn't have a solid foundation when it came to acting, so it wasn't really that helpful, because there's a lot that was lacking in that. I may have known how to figure out motivation, but there was no realism to it. It was just very fake and otherwise bad. So having a coach who will teach you the fundamentals of acting is so important. Online classes. Online classes are great if you don't have any options with private coaches for whatever reason, or acting studios. And they've got some great people on there. They've got Samuel L. Jackson, Dustin Hoffman, Helen Mirren, Natalie Portman that teach classes, master classes in acting, which is really, really great. However, a lot of online classes don't teach the fundamentals of acting, and I'm big on the fundamentals, so a lot of them don't teach that, and masterclass.com is an example of that, because a masterclass is basically where people are at a certain level of training. They're really, really high up there, and they're working with a master on improving their craft. They're not for beginners. So when you see a master class, oftentimes they skip over all the fundamentals that they assume you will have, and they go right to more advanced stuff with character development and scene study and all that again. So they don't necessarily go over the fundamentals. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I hope that was helpful. I hope it was informative. If you have any questions about anything I talked about, be sure to comment below and I will get back to you. Also, be sure to watch for my next video coming out in this series. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, keep living truthfully.